Hey, what's up everyone? Rogue Maverick here. So, last night I caught a late night showing of The Lion King 2019 remake. Is it better than the original? No. But, I see it on equal terms with the original. And that's saying a hell of a lot. I love the 94 Lion King. As a matter of fact, I own it. Well, technically, we own it on VHS. So it's technically... I think this was actually bought before my time. As a matter of fact, the film was released before I was born. Not that much more, but I grew up watching this on VHS, and unfortunately, it's the only way I can watch it, the original, right now. And our VCR has seen better days. So is this tape, now that I stop and think about it. Yeah, it's kind of gotten some of the symptoms of a well-played VHS. You know, dropout, static, blah, 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 blah. We also have the soundtrack on CD, and it's been ripped to digital platforms, because I love it. I am a wholehearted fan of this film. And I also like the, sort of half sequel, half side story sort of thing, which was called Lion King 1.5, where it told more of the story from Timon and Pumbaa's perspective. It was really good. It was a direct-to-video, if I recall correctly. It was never released in theaters, but anyways. So I finally had the chance to sit down and watch it, and it was actually better than I thought it would be. I first caught wind of this remake, what was it, about February? Maybe March? Wasn't April. I think it was February or March. Could have been January at the earliest. I remember because I was at a restaurant and it was on the news channel. So I saw that they were talking about the Lion King remake and was like, that's getting remade? I was kind of hesitant because it's a beloved film. Not just for me, but for millions of other fans, of people out there. And it's one of those films that can transcend generations. As evidenced by the fact that I grew up loving it years after it was released. Which says something. So I was worried that they were going to do a lot with it, or just ruin it. And in a few ways, it lost some of the charm of the original, but also gained a bit more of its own charm, which is... Got Wi-Fi. Which is still just as good. So, let me get some of the good stuff out of the way. The new cast was lovely. Especially Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner, I don't know how you pronounce his last name, I'm sorry. As Pumbaa and Timon, respectively. Holy, they were hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. And I suppose part of it was because, they were told that they had to cover some parts of the script, but the director, Jon Favreau, actually encouraged them to improvise quite a lot. And it shows. And it is delightful. Which leads to one of the funnier scenes from the remake. Sorry for the hammering out there. In the original, during Hakuna Matata, Pumbaa, excuse me, would say, every time I got downhearted, and then would say, every time that I farted. But right as he was about to say, every time that and then Timon would say, hey Pumbaa, not in front of the kids. Oh, sorry. It was brilliant. But the remake has a nice nod to the original. Every time that I farted, are you not going to stop me? No, you disgust me. I couldn't help but laugh at that. And I wasn't the only one laughing. The other people in the theater were laughing as well. Which wasn't that many. I mean, it was a late night showing, middle of the week, and a couple weeks after it opened in theaters. So, I always like to catch it in a later showing, because I've had some bad experiences during the daytime. I'm not going to go into that for this video. But it kind of ruined my enjoyment of the remake of Aladdin. Which, that's another thing. I had a much better experience with the actual film itself than I did watching the remake of Aladdin. With Aladdin, it just felt like it lost a lot of the soul of the original. And yes, while that's a little bit of that is true with the remake of Lion King as well, there was one cast member that returned to help keep it going. James Earl Jones as Mufasa. He's not young either. He's like in his late 80s, I think he's about 88. Yeah, about 88. So, this could be one of his final performances, but it's amazing. His voice I just can't, which is funny. Can you imagine Darth Vader without James Earl Jones? No, he's too iconic. He has too iconic of a voice. And that's the crazy thing. He can pull off a villain and a wise king. Two different ends of the spectrum. With just his basic voice. It's incredible. Anyways. The soundtrack similarly got a good... It was handled really well. Except for one. One of my favorites was Be Prepared. I'll get my praise out of the way first and foremost, because there's still a lot that I wanted to praise. I liked how it kind of built into the actual song. It was, instead of just being a kind of a jarring normal conversation to a sort of sung conversation in a way, it just slowly built into a song. And the original did have a bit of a militaristic feel, but not compared to the remake, which I actually thought was a good idea, because Scar's enlisting the help of the hyenas to help take over the Pride Lands, as you may remember. So having a bit more of a militaristic feel just felt better. That brings me to another point. The hyenas. Or rather, there's only really one that truly returned from the original. Shenzi, who's more positioned... Well, I guess she was always sort of the leader of the hyenas in the original anyway. It's just more clear in the remake that she's the leader of them. But Whoopi Goldberg did not reprise her role, and it felt awkward as all hell. It just did not feel right. That's another thing. Rowan Atkinson, who played Zazu, didn't return either. Early on, it was weird, because I have the voices of these characters ingrained with the characters themselves. I think of Simba, I think of the two actors. Zazu, Rowan Atkinson. Mufasa, James Earl Jones. Scar, Jeremy Irons. They are just ingrained in my head. And it was weird to try and... It was weird to experience that. But the new cast, again, did a serviceable enough job. I don't know who did Zazu, but he did his best to capture the feel of Zazu. I still prefer Rowan Atkinson, but he was kind of a bit of a hard role to fill. So, yeah, not much could be done about that. Back to the hyenas, though. So there was Shenzi. Bonsai and Ed were well, I shouldn't say completely out. There were two characters. I forget the one who kind of filled in the role of Bonsai. The two replacements were kind of loosely based on Bonsai and Ed. Azizi was, I believe, the name of the one who replaced Ed. And while he actually talked, he was kind of had the dumb feel that Ed had, you know, sort of thing. Which, he was voiced by Jim Cummings. A lot of respect for that guy. But I watched an interview, and there was one thing he said that just, he's an amazing actor, and a whole lot of respect for him. Sad that he didn't return, but I just couldn't see him taking on the new Azizi. The two new hyenas kind of bounced off each other pretty well. And going back to the soundtrack as well, the song "I Just Can't Wait to Be King" was masterfully updated, while still keeping the feel and energy of the original. Hakuna Matata was pretty good too, and it contained that little nod to the original, which was brilliant. Circle of Life. Honestly, it's a song that I guess in a way would be my least favorite, but it's not far from being bad. I love it. This is probably my least favorite of the 5 main ones. I actually shed tears of joy in the original, just during the remake, because it captured the feel of the original, note for note. It was beautiful. And another thing I liked was when Zazu was given the morning report in the original, he makes all sorts of puns. Like, cheetahs never prosper, instead of cheaters. The flamingos are taking a stand. That sort of thing, you know. A lot of animal puns. They kept that in the remake, which was brilliant. It was too funny of the original. Lost a little bit of the fun because of the lack of Rowan Atkinson, but that's to be expected. But that should say how well the lines were done, is that they're still funny, even with a different actor. Anyways, and I've listened to the soundtrack many times over the years, the original soundtrack, and I want to get the new soundtrack. Hell, I'm gonna probably buy the remake when it comes out. It's gonna be probably, I'm gonna imagine, like $25 on the iTunes store. And for that, I've seen, like, for example, How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World is also $25 on iTunes. At one of our, I guess media stores, it's a record shop, but it carries more than just music. It carries a lot of DVDs and Blu-rays. I saw a bundle of digital, Blu-ray, and DVD, all for $25. So if that's going to be how the remake is going to release, I'm going to go for the physical, because you get more formats for the same price. So you're paying more like $8 per format, for like $8 for one format, which is a lot better in my opinion. Anyways, but overall, well, I give the original Lion King about 9.8. Hell, it might even be a 10 out of 10. I honestly cannot think of stuff that is not handled well. Remake? About a 9 out of 10. Yes, it goes down, but it is still living up to the original for the most part, which is incredibly hard to do for me. It's crazy. I've done a complete 180. I was worried and wasn't sure if I was gonna like the remake, to thinking, why was I ever worried about it? You know, it was really well done, and it actually still has charm as opposed to the Aladdin remake, which was honestly about a similar runtime, about 2 hours. Oh, it was boring and not as fun. Oh. Although I will say they handled One Jump Ahead pretty well. But that was about it, and even then I still prefer the original. Because the original has so much humor. It had fun with itself, and the remake didn't of Aladdin. And Lion King it had some fun, but yeah. I suppose one of the reasons the remake of Aladdin didn't rub me the right way was the lack of Robin Williams. He made the original so good. Bless Will Smith's heart, he tried, but he could not capture the magic and hilariousness of Robin Williams. I saw outtakes and he said, "I'm getting kind of fond of you, kid. I would have done mouth to mouth to revive, but I don't find you that attractive." He doesn't exactly have G-rated humor, but he was funny. He was hilarious. Anyways, that was really off topic, but I felt like I was experiencing the film for the first time. And keep in mind that I have seen the film probably since I was like 3 or 4. Maybe 5 at the latest. Either way, I was introduced to it long before I really most of my memories start kicking in. So, the fact that I remember it so well, the fact that I don't remember anything in my first watch, and it really felt magical to experience it for the first time. Even though I wasn't. It's a remake based on the film that I've grown up with. But to experience it in a new way made it feel like I was watching it for the first time. And that was truly magical. If you guys haven't, I do recommend checking it out. Even if you are a diehard, if you're a diehard fan like me, I encourage you to at least check it out when it comes out. Don't pass this one up. You may not want to go to the theaters for it, which is fine. But do yourself a favor, watch it. I promise you, there's worse ways to spend 2 hours. Like, for example, watching the Aladdin remake. But that was just me. Anyways, I'll catch y'all later. Bye-bye.